Well, I guess that we can start, and people will join in the meantime, as we have a very busy agenda actually today. So let me start the sharing. Hopefully, you see my presentation.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our collaborative webinar on cities fighting energy poverty. We are going to address today some challenges, but also innovative strategies and approaches that the cities across these three European projects are experimenting to address the topic of energy poverty. I'm Stefania Mascolo. I'm project coordinator at Eurocities, and I'm happy to be the moderator for this session. So before we enter into the topic of energy poverty, and we also start the presentation with our speakers, I would like also to take a moment, of course, to thank all of you for joining us today, and especially to our speakers, our project coordinators, and the city representatives as well. Thank you so much for joining. So before also entering into the topic, I would like to take a second just to share with you how come that we have decided to organize this webinar across these three projects, and hopefully many others that will come. So the three projects that are organizing this webinar are the project of NEUTRALPATH, Climaborough, and UTMC. These three projects are all across different topics, are all funded under the Climate Neutral and Smart Cities mission call of Horizon Europe, and so working towards the European Cities mission. NEUTRALPATH and Climaborough brings together across the two of them 19 cities, and then we have a UTMC project that actually has a global network of cities across the world. Among all the consortia of our three projects, we have more than 70 partners that come from, of course, different sectors. So we have universities, research centers, SMEs, private companies, civil societies, etc. And all of these three consortia and cities and partners are all working towards one goal, which is, of course, support our cities towards climate neutrality. So looking at the numbers, I think that we can see that this collaboration can really be a powerful one. We would like to start with this session, and hopefully others, to provide a space across these projects to provide really exactly a space to share knowledge, but also challenges, and so helping and supporting the cities in collaborating towards driving change, driving innovation. That is so key, actually, to achieve the goals that we want to pursue. So climate neutrality in Europe and, of course, beyond. So just a quick look to the energy poverty topic. Why did we choose today to address it? And then, of course, I will leave the floor to the speakers who will say much more. But of course, that when we talk about energy poverty, we always, the first thing that comes to mind is high energy bills and the technical component of how can we address the energy crisis, reducing emission, and of course also linked to the state of our built environment, so the need of energy efficiency, as well as addressing also the housing crisis that has been really aspiring during the last years. Of course, that coupled with the technical aspects of energy efficiency and renovations in Europe, we can also say that one key component to be addressed when talking about energy poverty is the financial aspect of it. So the financial measures and financial measures and incentives that are needed to drive these renovations and to address the high cost of energy nowadays. However, one of the most neglected component of addressing energy poverty is actually the social aspect of it, the social dimension of energy poverty, and especially for those households that are most vulnerable in this time. And that's why we have decided today to organize this webinar focusing on the social dimension of energy poverty, to make sure that this transition that we are all working towards can be truly a powerful transition and powerful process that can help social equity and can really be a just and inclusive transition for all. So this is going to be our topic for today. Our project coordinators from the 3 projects are going to provide some details on how the projects and the cities within the projects are experimenting and are working towards addressing this topic. And then we will also hear the presentation of our cities as well. So looking at the agenda very quickly, as said, we will have some introduction for the 3 projects and our project coordinators. And then we will leave the floor to the city of Ghent and the city of Differdange. And we will also hear some global experiences from the UTMC project coordinator. And finally, of course, I will leave the floor to you, to the audience, to share your questions, but also your thoughts and comments. So without further ado, I would leave the floor to Cecilia Sanz, who is the project coordinator of NeutralPath.
Thank you, Stefania, for the introduction. Hello, good morning, everybody. I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, thank you. As Stefania has told you, I'm Cecilia Sanz from Cardiff Technological Center, and I'm the coordinator of NeutralPath project. NeutralPath is focused on achieving the neutrality of our clean cities, and we are for this neutrality, we use the positive and clean energy districts as a demo for achieving it. A PET district is that district that produces more energy than use, and this energy can be used by other parts of the city. So this is the main idea of our project. And with this, we want to transform our cities in more healthy places for us. In NeutralPath, we have 2 lighthouse cities, 2 demonstrations, big demonstrations, Dresden and Zaragoza. And there we are going to implement different aspects around a district in the city. And we have also 3 fellow cities that will learn or implement specific actions there. That are Vantaa in Finland, Ghent in Belgium, and Istanbul. And we have the chance of hear more about Ghent because around that we have us in this webinar. So fantastic there in this way. Relating what we have done or what we will do in our demo cities, we have to take into account that in both cases we focus as buildings to social living house. So in both of the demos, we have this kind of residential buildings that are not well warmed, not well insulated, and have faced poverty questions relating to energy. So we are going to retrofit them. We are going to work with the energy management for them, and we are a part, of course, for this approaching with this specific social parts of the city. We are going to work with them, learning, and also in the financing questions. So part of our demos, not being the focus, maybe the main objective of the project as treating this energy poverty, we can work with our PCDs in solving these questions because we work with the buildings and we work with the people there. So these are questions that we want to, and of course, the surplus of the energy created in our district can can suffer all or can be useful for other parts of them that could be more vulnerable of that. So this is the main ways that we face the energy poverty in our cities. And as we not only work with our demo visits, we also work with our fellows. We work to try to integrate different areas, integrate different aspects in the city to solve these questions. And maybe we will have the chance later to know more about how we face it in Ghent. So by my side, Annie Nels, thank you everybody for the attention, and we will have more in this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia, for a presentation of NeutralPath. I will now leave the floor to Eli Sepanovic, project coordinator of UTMC.
Thank you very much, Stefania. So I hope you see my screen.
Yes.
So thank you very much for inviting me and giving me the possibility to present the Urban Transition Mission Center, the UTMC. We are, as Stefania said, funded within the Horizon Europe program as a project to support the Urban Transition Mission. The main service to say, or the main focus is around providing a global platform, building a community and offering funding sources, funding assistance, peer-to-peer learning and capacity building. As I said, we're supporting the Urban Transitions Mission, one of the mission innovation missions, and we have a global outreach, as Stefania said. So we are working with cities worldwide, and we're connected. So to say, we are the global sister of the net zero cities. Our partners, as you see, the Austrian Research Promotion Agency I'm working for, FFG. We have the European Network of Living Labs in our consortium, ICLE Europe and the ICLE World Secretariat, Eurocities, LGI, and the Global Covenant of Mayors. So where do we stand? We are working together with around 90 UTM cities now, and we want to inspire many, many more around the globe. Also the 112 cities of the EU mission for climate neutral and smart cities, so we want to cooperate with them and build a worldwide community. In our platform, we have more than 850 platform users now, so I'm really inviting you to join us. We have in our platform mayors, city staff, experts, representative of academia and researchers, consultants, companies, so a broad range of stakeholders and users. So the community platform, what does it offer? It offers, as I already said, funding assistance. We have a global funding watch where funding programs worldwide can be found and screened and found according to your needs. We have a finance toolkit that is helping you, like a help desk where you can also send our questions. The knowledge repository where we upload daily useful information, sources, I will get back to this, reports, studies, up-to-date city portraits, and connect with existing databases. And last but not least, the capacity building and exchange. So we organize trainings, webinars. We have groups of exchange. I will come to this later, and moderated learning. So together with the UTM colleagues, there is a framework in our platform. It is a step-by-step guide for cities with different resources. So guiding through this platform and supporting cities in their climate strategies and in their actions. Also inviting you to try it out. So as I already said, the finance, funding and help desk, this is really a guiding and answering financing questions and supporting your financing routes, the global funding watch, and some knowledge that you can filter and find in also sessions that we provide. you have an insight here. So we do have city case studies. We have different tools. We can share with you reports, articles, and you are all invited to use this platform also to promote your findings, your results. Everyone can upload interesting data there and interesting material for others to share. And also we are inviting cities to work with them to elaborate written case studies to increase the visibility with videos, with interviews. So feel free also to reach out to your cities and let them know that we have the possibility to increase the visibility and to work with them in elaborating such case studies, which can be distributed then. Regarding the capacity building and exchange, as I already said, we have trainings and webinars, our monthly virtual coffees that are highlighting thematic topics, and I'll also come to this next. Our next one will be on energy, and there are platform discovery tours which you can listen to and which are guiding you through the platform, so you're not alone there. And our focus areas are these 7 clusters, so from finance, governance, over data, transport, nature-based solutions, water management, and you see cluster 5, sustainable energy. And I think that's all from my side now, and I will get back in the next part of the webinar.
Thank you so much, Ellie. I also shared in the chat the link to the platform if anyone is interested in joining, of course, and sharing and checking out all the resources that you mentioned. So now the floor to Matteo Satta, the project coordinator of Climaborough, who will also walk us through a little bit more on the connection between energy poverty and climate neutrality. Matteo, the floor to you.
Good morning, everyone. First, thank you, NEUTRALPATH, to UTMC, to Cartif, to everyone, Eurocities, for being here and for organizing this together. That is, I think it's very important. Sorry, I'll change because I'm messing up with the... Here we go. Sorry, I have 2 presentations, then I have to get the right one. Here we go. First, let me introduce myself. I'm Matteo Satta. I'm the scientific coordinator of Climaborough that I'm going to present now. I represent ANCI Toscana. For the non-Italian ones, ANCI Toscana is the regional associations of cities in Tuscany in Italy. Now, about our project, it's a project of 11 million euros funded by the mission, as it was already anticipated. We have 28 partners, or better, we have 24 partners with 2 affiliated entities and 2 associated members. What is particular in our project is the governance that there is in it. We have partners with climate specialists, urban planning specialists, and so on. But in particular, we have 14 cities. Then we have a big part of our project are cities. As you can see by this slide, we have 14 cities in 12 countries. Then we have a large also geographical area to cover. And the cities are divided as in a typical lighthouse approach between leaders and followers. Then we have 8 leaders and 4 followers, plus 2 observers. Then the idea is really to have a more bottom-up approach in our project instead of a classical top-down, as it may often happen, in the sense that you throw a technological solution on the ground and you see how it works. In our case, it's more upside down, and we start from an approach that we called circular technology. We start from the basic, one of the basic assumption of the mission, which is that today we don't lack technology. We lack the right use of technology. And today we see also a gap between the local authorities and the market. And at the same time, this gap can be also, let's say, replicated from, can be stated also from local authorities to stakeholders, mostly citizens. And then the idea is to try to drive something on the ground, making sure that we can trigger behavioral change, considering behavioral change one of the most important part in tackling the climate change in general and climate neutrality in this case, in particular, because we really need to take into consideration that technology by itself won't solve the problems that today we have. At least we don't fully solve the problems. In doing that, as our project is part of the cluster of urban planning and spatial design, what we are really interested in doing is making sure that we can somehow evaluate the impact of a single solution, or what we call here a drop, on the overall picture. On the overall picture of urban planning and spatial design, making sure that when a city drives, also even a pilot or an experimentation on the ground, understand how these can be connected to the full picture and what kind of impact it has, because it's one of the main issues that cities today have. Now, in our project, what we have done, our focus is a bit larger than energy. We work on energy, obviously, but we work on energy and mobility on one side, what we call the Climb Hub. These are a hub of cities managed by two, and the second one is about waste and circularity. These two groups are led by two city specialists, Energy Cities and Urban Lab Torino, that I've seen online, by the way. And in this framework, we have leader cities, then driving the experimentations first, and then follower cities. But what we try to do is to allow the leaders to become followers in the other hub, assuming that if I have a good experimentation in energy, doesn't mean that I'm mature enough for waste, while it may be I'm mature on waste, and then they can learn from each other. And in this framework, the methodology also, because I mean, we don't have much time, then I try really to go quickly, is to let cities, and this is a circle as a city sees our methodology mostly. And then the cities define the challenges. That means somehow the need match with a potential solution or an idea of solution that is tendered via an innovative procurement. And then they're deployed, the solutions are deployed in the cities. We evaluate the impact that they can have from a number of points of view. And then there is replication that can happen with the leader cities supporting the follower cities. Now, where we stand less or more at step 3. Then the 15 solutions in 8 cities are going to be deployed in the 12 months to come. And in the meanwhile, we're already launching the replication process because our project has to be is important. Is a project. It's a process innovation, more a product innovation. Even if we will have solutions that are innovative too, but we have both of them, and that's one of the complex but also passionate part of our project. Now, for this part, I'm done. Thank you. We have our website, and I've seen that Stefani already shared it, but we have also a website and social media that are quite active.
Thank you, Matteo. And I really love the process innovation instead of product innovation. I'm a fan of this concept, so thanks for sharing this. And I think that you have another presentation as well right now. So this was the presentation of Climaborough by Matteo, but he's also now going to share a little bit more on how energy poverty is related to climate neutrality, the climate neutrality journey of cities.
Just a moment. My laptop is complaining for some reasons. It doesn't want to. Okay, it didn't want to close the whole presentation. Oh. Okay, do you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, here I get a bit out of my role in Climaborough. I try to give just some small information on data, I would say, But why do cities are so important talking about energy? I mean, why not agriculture? That is probably for sure an issue too, but the important now here, we really try to focus on cities. Cities today represent really a small piece of land at the end in the world. I mean, I think that calculations are about 3%, but represent the most of the consumption. This is true for energy, but it's true also, I think, for many other fields. But anyway, the idea is really to, sorry, I was trying to close the themes. Then they represent really the biggest greenhouse emissions, and on energy is even more. And we have to think, and here I try to put a map in which you see the density of the population in cities, and we can see that all over Europe, I mean, at least in Europe, we have really high density in cities. We have countries like Belgium in which we have almost 100% of the population that is living in cities. I think it's 98%, the exact figure. That means that solving the problem in cities obviously somehow represent a really big step towards climate neutrality. Laptop is not collaborating. Okay, and talking about energy poverty and also somehow connecting to what Stefania was explaining at the beginning, and what also Cecilia explained later, is that there is a social side, a big social side of energy. We have seen also, by the way, this a couple of years ago when there was the big crisis related to the war in Ukraine. And we can see the effects. I mean, the rise of prices somehow can have a positive side, in the sense that you reduce the consumption of energy, but this is not socially balanced. That means that we have more and more people that are even struggling to get warm home. And this is something that has obviously to be taken very much into consideration, because they almost doubled around in 2 years. I mean, according to the figures that are out already. Then that's something that we really need to take into consideration. And we also need to take into consideration as Europeans that we are net importers. We're net importers, and renewable energies are still a small part of the whole balance. That means that solving the problem of energy poverty and solving it in cities is fundamental also to create a better governance at local, I mean, at overall level, but eventually at local level, making sure that we can. Then the trade deficit is something we need to take into consideration. It's very financial driven in this point, from this point of view, but it's very important because it has also important political consequences. And then talking about cities, we can get a bit deeper into this. Around the world, 50% of the population lives in cities that are below 500,000 people. That means that small, medium-sized cities are fundamental also because from some points of view, it can make also easier replication of innovation, taking into considerations that the governance at local level can be a bit easier than in big metropolitan areas that represent, at the end, a smaller part of the population. In Europe, this 50% is 56%. That means that in Europe, it's even more important than at the world level. And to go now on how cities can impact the energy poverty fight, we have always to start from the fact that the city is a very complex ecosystem. Very complex because you have the city's administration, but around it you have a number of entities that are around the city and work with the city in some cases, but sometimes they don't work with the city, they work by themselves. And citizens are, I would say, the point of the iceberg. But everything else is a bit, and industry too, but everything else sometimes is a bit more hidden. We don't really notice it. And then cities can take a double approach. The first approach, which is obviously taken by 100% of cities, is to work as administrations. As an administration, I manage, I don't know, police stations, the city hall, schools, and a number of other buildings and infrastructures that are energy driven and need energy, and then use public lighting is another case, and they work. But this is just a part of the consumption, and actually it's not even the biggest part. The biggest part is the city as a urban area, then with all these stakeholders using their part of energy. And then means industry will have its consumption. Other public entities, let's think of an hospital, is using its own. Associations, NGO, education, startups, SME, they all do. And cities today, and we see it also in the climate city contracts, we see the double approach. Some of them consider just investment plans on the public part, public, I mean, their own administration and what they control directly. Some others try to do the effort to include also the other part of the investment. I mean, talking about the other part of the investment, there are some cities talk to me about, I can't recall if million or billion of giga euros, I mean, or giga million of euros. I mean, something like that, that I don't even know exactly what does this mean in terms of numbers exactly, but it's clear it's very huge. And the city then can have a double role. The one is obviously managing its part. And then on the other side, as I was saying at the beginning, acting as a bit as a glue between the administration and all the stakeholders that are on the ground and use energy. And I think the climate city contracts that Net Zero Cities is driving are really potentially fundamental to go through that process and supporting also the private sector to do the right investment to make energy poverty, to improve energy poverty, then to improve energy management somehow. Now, I'm done on this part.
Thank you, Matteo. Thank you for pointing out the complexity of energy poverty that really comes across the technical, the financial, the social aspect of it. So thanks a lot for this presentation. And now talking about medium-sized cities and their paramount importance, I leave the floor to our first city representative, Roland Kiersmaker from the city of Ghent and representative of NEUTRALPATH project.
Thank you, Stefania. I will share my presentation. Okay, thank you for the invitation. I'm Roland Kiersmakers from city of Ghent. I'm working as a project manager for the NEUTRALPATH project in our city. And I will talking about the Living Lab, Muidenmeulen Steden fossil fuel free. As every city, also city of Ghent has these climate goals. As you can see, we are already in the Covenant of Measures from 2009, and we had already 3 climate plans. We are trying to achieve climate neutrality by 2050. But now I will address the real huge challenge, and that's how to decarbonize the existing building blocks. And I start with the analysis of a current approach. Because when we want to create a living lab, first we want to see what is going wrong, why we don't have this acceleration in the decarbonization of the existing building block. And that's why we see at the actual policy and financial instruments that are put in place to stimulate the renovation of individual homes. And from the Flemish government, we have the instrument of the verbouwpremie, a premium that you can receive when you do the pre-financing of some renovation works, like the installation of your roof, installation of the floor, and the retrofitting of glasses. Another instrument that is put in place is the verbouwlening. It's a soft loan with a very low interest. You can loan and then pay back your investments. And another instrument that is put in place is also the EPC labels that now acquires that people that have buy a home from the beginning of 2023, they have to renovate their house to the level of B, the label D, the label D, in a range of five years, and in the coming years it will be stricter. So from the beginning of 2028, the houses has to be renovated till the label of C. But in Ghent, there is also we try to organize it also in an inclusive and just way. That's why we started the Ghent Knapt Op project. That's a project that is a kind of revolving fund. You can if you're living in a house that is in poor condition, then you can get a budget from 15,000 till 45,000 euros to renovate your house, and you don't have to pay the money in pre-finance, but you have to pay the money only back when the house is sold. So that makes it possible for people that are that don't have the financial means to tackle the problems of the poor condition of their home, and also to invest in the energy efficiency of their houses. But the result of this project that started in 2014 is that at this day we have 118 houses that have been renovated, and 57 are currently being addressed. So that makes us come to the conclusion that in a way you can speak about losers and winners in this energy transition, because despite of the energy crisis, the number of renovations is hardly increasing. This is because of the bill of a real fundamental renovation of your house that can be amount up to 100,000 euros. And also, if you see who is gaining with this financial and also policy instruments, these more the highest incomes that are benefiting from these instruments. And when we want to accelerate the energy transition, then we see that the tempo that we need to get is not achieved. Between 25 and 2021, through the higher energy standards of new buildings, also the improvement in energy efficiency in existing buildings, and the decarbonization of the electricity and heating sector, but also by the higher climate temperature, we achieved to reduce the CO2 emissions with 19% in 2021. But the goal was 31% reduction. When we see at 2030, our goal is to reduce CO2 by 48%, but if we make an assumption about the tempo we are going now, the reality will be in 2030 we have a reduction of 26. So how to reach the goal in 25 to reduce CO2 emissions with 100%. That's why we proposed a new hypothesis, an hypothesis with the Living Lab for a more collective and place-based approach. additional to the existing focus for the individual plot and the supra-local policy, we need to insert the level of the district and also to realize breakthrough projects to make the energy transition visible but also tangible for citizens. Therefore, we need an interplay between the neighborhood dynamics networks. To organize collective projects, we need district energy company, district energy coalition, district energy action plan, where people of the district and the neighborhood living there are really involved. And so we need also a consortium that acquires and integrate all the knowledge. And as Matteo already said, the city is in a good place to bring together a lot of knowledge and also partners at the local level. That's why we created a consortium of partners that have expertise on the social, technical, legal, policy and financial challenges we are facing. By tackling the energy transition on a more collective and place-based way, we think we can integrate different innovation domains with each other. The energy efficiency, production flexibility will be addressed at the same time. And the inclusiveness issue from the start will be taken into account. And that will lead to higher acceptance and more ownership of citizens and inhabitants of a district. That was our hypothesis. Now I will talk a little bit more and give you an insight in the district we're talking about, Muiden-Meulenstede. So as you can see on the map, Muiden-Meulenstede is situated between the city and the harbor. Activities, as you see on the photo, it is kind of a peninsula, so there is a lot of water around this district. Trying to get, okay. Okay. As you see in this photo, the district Muiden-Meulenstede is also a very dense district. We have a population of 6,700 inhabitants, and the city Ghent as a whole has 270,000 inhabitants. It is dense with many apartment blocks and small houses with a very limited private outdoor space. It fills spaces because of the water around the district, but in the district, there are a few shops and facilities for the local residents. It has a young population with high unemployment. When we look at the living conditions and the energy poverty, the neighborhood has many old houses. 26% of the houses were built before 1900. The neighborhood has more tenants than the Ghent average. In Muiden-Meulenstede, there are 56% tenants. And around 8% of the neighborhood residents face payment difficulties and could not pay housing costs in the past year. In Muiden-Meulenstede, 12.4% of the residents reported being unable to pay water, gas, electricity, fuel oil bills during the last year. So for Ghent as a whole, this was an average of 7.8% of the residents. So as you can see, it is a district with a lot of difficulties and vulnerable inhabitants. But on the other hand, it is a district with a lot of engagement and involvement of the citizens. Already in 2016, when there were plans of an urban renewable program, they were engaged and make a program of 12 agenda points they want to see implemented in their neighborhood. So they want to make Muiden-Meulenstede a leader in achieving the objectives of the Ghent climate plan, and they want to use the available space to develop, implement and test concrete climate initiatives for the city of Ghent. So that's why we try to organize two concrete projects for application in this district. First of all, we start with the planned reconstruction of a soccer field that was seen as a starting opportunity, and we try to develop there a collective and place-based approach to accelerate the energy efficiency of the homes and the decarbonization of the residents in the existing building block. Below the soccer field, we wanted to try to organize geothermal drillings that provide the heat for the surrounding homes. A second pilot project was a solar power roof project that we are trying to develop and to accelerate the installation of roofs of individual homes and the installation of solar panels on them. In this approach, we pay special attention also serving the vulnerable families. And how we do it? The questions we asked is how can we harvest as much as sun as possible through and for the entire neighborhood to create an accessible and affordable energy supply? Can we install the solar panels on all suitable roofs in the district Muiden-Meulensstede? And also, can we, in one time, also insulate the roofs that are not already insulated? Can the surplus of solar power also be generated on large rooftops and then be evaluated in the selling of this surplus electricity to a large customer via power purchase agreement? And we are also trying to make a link between the PV on large rooftops and individual roofs. That was the aim of this, is to create and to build a financial model that accelerates the rollout of PV on all the roofs in the district. Here you see a sketch of our concept of the project. By installing the solar panels on the roofs of residential buildings, we think we can get a discount on the energy bills by approximately 200 euros a year. And also on large roofs of some companies in the district, we will install the PV installation. And they also have the reduction on their energy bill by the self-consumption of the surplus electricity they produce with the PV installation. By selling this surplus of electricity with the PPA to a large electricity demander, we have some income to create and to sustain a district energy cooperation. So that's an important pillar of our concept, is the district energy cooperation that works in very good collaboration with the local energy coalition. And the coalition is formed by citizens and citizens of the district, and also the local organizations that are working in this district. The aim of this solar power project is that we can install PV on 100 houses already in 2025, and that we can, at the end, in 20 years' time, we can install 555 houses with solar panels. So in that sense, the number of residents that are participating in the energy transition will come from 4% till 25% of the residents of the district. But there are already, I'm talking about a concept. It is not already a realized project. That's because we have to see if the financial model that we have in mind, that it is really working. Does the self-consumption of electricity from solar panels give effectively annual benefit of about 20 euros? We don't know already. We have to calculate more. Can we effectively establish and run a neighborhood energy company with proceeds from subscription fees? And on what terms can a power purchase agreement be concluded? The rates for injection of surplus electricity are decreasing sharply. And so is there still a good return to be expected from a PPA? Also, it is not so easy to find large companies that will make their roofs available to put on solar panels. With the increasing electrification, also the car fleet of these companies, the companies have increasing demand for electricity on their own. And also the solar rooftop project, we don't know if it is attractive for vulnerable residents. And that's why we are now adjusting our hypothesis in three ways. First of all, we are saying that energy projects in an existing context requires a business case beyond market conformity. And I mean with this that there will be also a need for a kind of subsidy to start off with this kind of projects. To create an inclusive energy project, we have to prioritize and involve the most vulnerable residents from the start, from the beginning of the project. And we need more neighborhood dynamics and a higher involvement. That's why now we are starting with reference groups. We are working together with a social organization that is already working in this neighborhood. That organization is called SAMO, and we organize reference groups to gather input and feedback on the developing project and the business case from non-dominant target groups. As you see in the picture, we have some collective moments, sometimes organized on the street, but also the social worker of SAMO is going from door to door to make inventarization of this input and feedback. He's talking to the selected non-dominant target groups like ethnic cultural minorities living in this district, the tenants and the landlords, elderly local residents, and also single parents. As I said already, for the establishment of a district energy company, we need the collaboration of residents and local organizations. They can help us to define the mission and the outlines of the local energy action plan. They can set up actions to get a growing group of residents on board via ambassadorship or events, campaigns. They can even try to set up an accessible and visible hub and provide input and feedback on the developing projects. So that's why on 15th October, we organized our first meeting on the district level with residents, and we try to explain what our goals are and the concepts of the project we are now developing. And with this input and feedback, we hope that we make more connection with the residents and with reference groups. It's very important to see if vulnerable people also can be included in this process. So that was my presentation about the approach in City of Ghent with the district-oriented approach, I say.
Thank you so much, Roland, truly for this presentation. I think that we can all say that the City of Ghent has a lot to share also with other cities. It's amazing I think the really the holistic approach that you are taking, and also as a city, it's been a long run for you building up this knowledge. So you mentioned that you started in 2014. So there are a lot of cities that are just starting to address the energy transition in a more, let's say, holistic way, not only looking at the technical side of it, looking for financial solutions as well, and the social aspect and the co-ownership of this solution. I think it's a critical component, and so thank you so much for sharing these strategies with us. Cecilia, you no? Okay, so maybe just a second, because I think there was a lot of content from Roland's presentation. So I don't know if anyone else, I see there are many city officers and city representatives among the attendees today. If anyone wants to ask us a question or make a remark, or even just reflect on anything similar or different that your city is experiencing. No? Ellie?
Yeah, thank you, Roland. If you had to give one recommendation to a city, where to start, who to involve from the beginning, what would it be? Or what was your main challenge, let's say, which you had to overcome, which took a long period of time to overcome it, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the real challenge is to accelerate the energy transition. So we have put already a lot of effort in helping vulnerable people, like, for instance, the Ghent Knaptop project. But that takes time, and you're not helping with this project, yes, but we try to help these people in a structural way, not only the behavioral change, because there is a lot of focus on the behavioral change. But if you have vulnerable people living in a house with poor conditions, it is essential that they also can profit from the energy transition and a real energy efficiency, and make a real energy efficiency in their house. So that's why we are now thinking more about the district-oriented approach, because the district-oriented approach also has the advantage of the already existing networks in the district, the social organizations working already in the district. So I would say that the main recommendation is to work very closely with the partners that are already engaged in this district, and that have already built up a good connection and trust with the vulnerable people. Because, as we all know, trust is key.
Thank you, Roland. Okay, so, yes, Eira?
Hello, yes. Thank you, Roland. It was really interesting to hear more about what you've been working on in Ghent. I would say, so I'm also working for NEUTRALPATH in the city of Vantaa in Finland. And I would say that I absolutely recognize this important point that you made about the incentives and subsidies being utilized more by middle to high income homeowners who have the capacities to pay attention to these existing and utilizing them and so on. So it's absolutely a challenge that I recognize also in Finland. And maybe this is a good point, at least in Finland, these subsidies are also less and less. So they are there. Maybe a few years back, there was more of them. So maybe this is a point where to think of how to find different kinds of solution, but these that we know that were useful, but maybe not targeting always the right groups. And also, as you say, are not speeding up the change fast enough. My question is, actually, two questions. One is that when you talk about these different sizes of solar panel investments, what I understand, some would be maybe by the home owners or the house owners, or is it, or what is the role of the city or private actors in who makes the investments to these solar panels? And yeah, maybe answer this one first.
Yeah, in the construction of this concept, the district energy company will take the role of the installation of the PV, also the management and the maintenance of this PV. That's why we need, first of all, a kind of a subsidy to start up this company, and then we can starting to roll out this project, and then with the discount people experienced on their energy bill, they can pay back every month approximately 100 euros. So we organize a revolving project. We have revenues, and then we can the coming years we can invest in the other roofs to come.
Okay, now I understand.
So
Thank you.
it is the aim is to deburden people. They just have to say, you can use my roof. It's a third party. The district energy company will install and do all the rest, and they just have to pay back part of the discount they have on their energy bill.
Okay, and my other question actually continues from here, since you said there's a big amount of the residents are tenants and not not owners of these houses. Have you struggled to reach the actual owners? Because I assume you need their willingness to put the roofs as part of this.
That's not an easy target group to reach. That's why there's also a reference group, especially focusing on the tenants and landlords. We are taking them together because you have to speak with the tenants, but also with the landlords, because at the end, the landlords are deciding what is going to happen in the home at the roof of their homes. But it's a target group that is hard to reach. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ira, for the question. So other comments and questions later, otherwise we run out of time. And following up with the city's experiences, I leave the floor to our city representative, Luc Arend from the city of Differdange.
Hello, I try to share. Like this, do you see it?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, and does it? Oh, my microphone was muted. Okay. Okay. Hello, I am Luc Arend. I am the climate counselor for the city of Differdange, which is a city in Luxembourg, rather medium-sized in Luxembourg, or the third biggest in Luxembourg, but for the EU scale, it would be considered a small town, I think. Yes, and I'm also the coordinator of the Mission Cities Initiative for Net Zero, the Net Zero Cities Initiative for Differdange.
You're muted again.
Why does it always mute? Okay. The city of Differdange is, as I said, a rather small town of 31,000 inhabitants, and it has a big industrial heritage, especially in the steel and mining industry. The mining industry is not present anymore. It's only historical now, but the steel industry is still going on, and it's still there's still a big steel plant in the middle of the town. It's really the heart of the town, and the citizens of Differdange also identify themselves with the steel plant and the steel production. It's a part of the culture and also part of the economic development of the whole country of Luxembourg. As with the industrial growth of Differdange over the years, the steel industry started about 150 years ago. The diversity of the city grew too. Our population, even though it's only 31,000 inhabitants, includes about 118 nationalities. Because a lot of migrants came to Luxembourg, and especially to Differdange for work, to work also in the steel industry. and all the sectors that are attached to it. Today, the generations, the later generations still are in Differdange and identify themselves with the city, and there's still a big growth going on in Differdange, more in the sense of being close to being in Luxembourg and also being close to Luxembourg city and to other cities, being in the heart of Europe and with the economic growth of the city, of the country. The Differdange has always been also more of an innovative city, also known in Luxembourg as a city that has early started its transition to climate neutrality. That we started early working on it, especially in the energy department for municipal buildings. We already we started early with decarbonizing our heating, constructing heat networks through the city, and that is a part of we have been known to, and also with innovative solutions and in the investment part, which I will go further into later on. We are close to the French border and the Belgian border. That's why also we are working strongly with in international corporations. Some of it, like that I mentioned here, are TNT, which is the first international. How do I translate it correctly? It's the first international association between this kind of border towns that work this closely. I don't know the right term in English, but it has been a very big success as a lot of the Luxembourgish population that cannot afford to live in Luxembourg live now also in the border towns, and so this cooperation is also a very important anchor point for Luxembourgish diaspora, I could call it. Also, like Brosud is a bit like Anchi-Toscana of Luxembourg, the south of Luxembourg. It's also the regional cooperation between the cities, also in especially in the ecological and environmental sense, that we are working together on energy projects, on circular economic projects, and also share best practices. As we are all rather small municipalities, we need to work together as to pull the weight, as well as SICO is a similar, but on a smaller scale cooperation. And as I mentioned, we are in Mission City. We are the only Mission City in Luxembourg, and we are currently waiting to get our CCC approved. Okay, so now I probably will mute again when I click now. Oh no, I didn't mute. Okay, a few best practices that we have in Differdange in our energy transition. As I said, we are one of the first municipalities in Luxembourg that started the transition to decarbonizing our energy department, our energy production. And one of our first projects in making photovoltaic affordable, or making it more interesting, or making it an investment opportunity for our citizens was a big construction on more of our football stadiums, where people could invest their money to buy parts of it. It is managed by an energy provider. It's a bit like the project that was now presented by Ghent, that the energy provider is actually paying for the roof, but it's the citizens that invest in the project. So the energy provider just as a middleman to do the work on it. And that was the first project of this kind, and we continued this kind of project a few times with we have 3 photovoltaic installations of this kind, and we are now working on wind park that should work after this principle too, so that the energy provider is constructing it and the city, so that we take the invest, but later on that the citizens will buy parts and get a return on their invest, which is an opportunity for especially people who want to decarbonize their energy consumption, but can't do because they live in a residential house, in a multiple family house, where they don't own the roof or cannot do not have this possibility to invest for themselves. And the request of citizens has been growing through this project. So we know that people want this project. And also the heat networks that I already talked about. We are one of the cities with the most heat networks in Luxembourg. I think only Luxembourg city itself has more kilometers of heat networks, and most of them also running on renewables. There's only one network that doesn't run on renewables, where we are now looking to have a deep drill geothermal heating system. Okay. But we have some issues in Differdange, but they can also grow into opportunities, such as we have a very difficult socioeconomic situation for citizens. The housing cost in Luxembourg, in general in Luxembourg, is very high. It has really got normal to pay about €1 million for a normal house, and this brings also people who live in Luxembourg do not have really monetary reserves when they are really on the limit with their loans for housing, so they don't have this space to pay for renovations, which doesn't affect really also just poor or lower income families, but we are really talking about up to high income families that cannot pay for the renovation of their houses. So there's also no room for fluctuations, as with the war in Ukraine, where the energy price jumped so high that really a lot of people had to sell their houses. The renting situation climbed up during this period, that a lot of people couldn't pay anymore for their loans. And in Differdange we have about 45% of people who do not own their living place. So we have on one hand a lot of people who own a few people who own a lot of houses, and people who own their houses where they live in, they cannot afford really to renovate it, also to build a photovoltaic installation. But we have also these very few who own a few houses are also very wealthy, and they have the opportunity also to invest more. Or they have the capital to invest more, but need to be motivated. So we have also this divide between Luxembourgish citizens who have more reserves due to family property, but citizens with a migrant background do not have this opportunity. They really are more in a situation of living day by day. And we also see with the people who come to be advised by us and their energy habits, we see a lot of people who really do not turn on heating anymore. Or we also had a case of a family who did not even have a heating system at all at home. But yeah, they were managing somehow, and But we have this opportunity, as I said, with people who, with few people who have money, and there is somewhat of an investment culture in Luxembourg. Especially Luxembourgish people look more to have local investment. As I said, with the photovoltaic installations, then this is something that people are interested in to invest in local companies or local opportunities. And we have the same problem as was also mentioned by in the presentation by Ghent, that there are really good subsidies for people to renovate their houses or to decarbonize their energy consumption, but it's always pre-financing. People need to pre-finance it, and due to the economic situation of the last years, the banks were also not so keen on giving loans to people with low income, even though the subsidies would cover most of the costs, even with low income families who own their house and do the renovation. The state would even pay 100% sometimes in some cases, but due to pre-financing, the banks were not open to do it. One opportunity of the city is that we have this industrial heart of the city that we also like to keep, and because it's still a big job opportunity, not as much as before due to more automation processes, but it's still culturally and also economically an important part of the city. And we have a lot of opportunities with them, especially when we are talking about heat districts, district heating, to connect waste heat to our heat districts, to our heating districts. As the steel plant is really close to the city, it wouldn't even be on a high distance and wouldn't need high temperatures, which is really a big opportunity. So the solution we have been working on with during the Climaborough process was to provide a platform that connects the citizens with all the other stakeholders in the city, especially industrial partners, as industrial partners have big roof areas, have also like this waste heat opportunity. The platform aims on one hand to have the citizens that own their houses but cannot afford to pre-finance an installation on their roof, for example. It allows to these citizens to rent out the roof area to other citizens who look to invest in local energy productions, so we want to connect those opportunities. Also, it's an opportunity to create energy communities in the city. A lot of the houses in Differdange are in a style that they are built one really next to each other. They are connected. So but currently there was no structure of connecting really the roof area for one photovoltaic installation. There was a new law that allowed now to connect them, to create this energy community to be more efficient in using it. And the platform should identify these opportunities, contact the owners of the houses to really and to really communicate with them that there is an opportunity, they can build this installation, and if they can't afford it, that the platform can look for investment for them, be it banks, be it private investors, but there is an opportunity to rent out your roof area, and that you can still gain something without even investing yourself in it. Same for industrial areas. A lot of our industrial partners, even though they have a very big roof area, they did not invest in photovoltaic installations, or even though they have a big area, which is where an opportunity for a wind park would be, they didn't build a wind park just because they didn't see they don't see themselves as they needed to do this invest, especially like a steel plant that has such a high energy demand. Even if they would build like 3 wind mills on their territory, they wouldn't get independent in their energy consumption. So they don't have it on their screen to do anything like this. But with the platform, the platform would take off the work from them to work on this project. They would just need to provide the territory, so that, or the roof area, so that other investors can invest in a new installation on their territory. We are looking to have more private investment in our energy transition, and so to make it also affordable and faster in this regard. Also, because it's being coordinated by this platform that should also be that is being connected to a digital twin, the consummation should also be smarter, and also the production, so that it can be managed, that the grid is really being used in the most efficient way.
Luke, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we are running out of time, and I would like to give also the space for a question. So I don't know if you want to make a final remark.
Okay, the final remark was just that that we want to create these win-win-win solutions, and I think these last 3 points were also a bit like what I also said already, and it was my last slide.
Thank you so much, Luke. Actually, I think it was very interesting to see this case from Luxembourg and Differdange, because for the social economic situation of the country, it's often not so heard and maybe not so relatable. But actually, hearing you, I think that it's really relating to also the challenges that we have heard from Ghent and also from the city of Vanta. So thank you so much. Is there any question or comments before we wrap up with the last presentation? No? Okay, then I leave the floor to Ellie to end on a global note. So we went to a medium-sized city, then a small or small, medium, depending on the perspective, city. And so now we end on a global perspective with the UTMC's cases. And Ellie, if it's okay for you, I don't know how many cities you had in mind, but if we can stick with one, since we don't have a lot of time. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Stefania. I will really be brief, and I'm very sorry that Zhytomyr is not able to be here, our enthusiastic representative, Axinia Sinko. So I will shortly just show the video that we produced for Zhytomyr, and I will end soon. So I recall that it's okay. Sorry. Yeah, so thank you for your attention. So these are the small videos that we are producing for our cities. And as you see for Zhytomyr, it was really the problem of an energy intensive urban infrastructure and a dependency on their energy production. And so they implemented this local energy policy. And the results are remarkable. So they had a reduced electricity consumption by 50% since they started in 2012, and carbon dioxide city emissions reduction by 36%. So I think a remarkable example. And we have two other examples, which I don't want to go into detail, from Greater Manchester and also from Tokorozawa in Japan. But please feel free to enter the platform and to have a closer look to those. And I really want to close from my side and say that cities are more and more fighting energy poverty by joining forces and within their cities on municipal level, involving stakeholders, but also on national level, when they work together with other cities in, let's say, public procurement, joining forces. Also on a regional level, let's make an example for the Mediterranean region, so exchanging in the Mediterranean cities, having the same problems and challenges, but also on an international and global level, where we step in as UTMC, where we can support. And just an outlook, please register to the newsletter. We have an events calendar, also promoting other events from other initiatives and partnerships. And if you are interested more in Zhytomyr, Ksenia Sinko will be in our next virtual coffee on energy on Wednesday, the 30th of October, and some other UTM virtual coffees then in November on governance. And we are also at the World Urban Forum in Cairo next month. And here again the community platform QR code, and that's it from my side.
Thank you, Annie. Well, as we come to the end of our webinar, I want to thank you all for staying, for joining today's. Thank you already to all our speakers, Matteo, Cecilia, Ellie, Roland, and Luke. Thank you for your super interesting presentation. For the attendees, you haven't been super active. I'm sorry we didn't have a lot of time to interact, but I really hope that we can further make this a series and hearing other cities and other participants sharing their experiences as well. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you
very
all.
much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.